Testing. Okay, we're good. Okay. Good evening, everyone. My name is Ellie Walker, and I am the chair of the Political Action Committee for the Gwinnett County NAACP. So on behalf of our organization, welcome to tonight's Congressional District 13 Candidate Forum. Before we begin, I just want to take a moment to thank the partners who helped make tonight possible. Events like this don't happen without collaboration, and we're really grateful for the Gwinnett NAACP Youth Council and League of Women Voters of Gwinnett and Berean Christian Church for their support and partnership in bringing this forum to the community. I also want to extend a thank you to tonight's candidates. Showing up matters. Your willingness to be here, to stand for the community, answer questions directly and authentically, it speaks volumes, and we appreciate your dedication. A few housekeeping items. Restrooms are located, if you go out the back door, take a left all the way through the hallway and kind of to the left, that's where you'll find the restrooms. Tonight's forum is also being live streamed, so just please be mindful of that as you're entering and exiting. You're welcome to record and take photos. We just ask that you be considerate of everyone around you. And then please take a moment to silence your phones if you haven't already. A few ground rules. Try to hold your applause or reactions until the end so we can make sure we hear everybody's answers and we keep everybody on time. All candidates will have equal time to respond to each question, and each candidate will have a 90-second response time. We will have a timekeeper, and they have a time, and we'll notify them as it gets 10 seconds or so, and then you'll hear an alarm sound. And then finally, with time permitting, we're gonna open the floor for a few audience questions. So as you listen tonight, keep some questions in mind that you may wanna ask at the end, and we'll have our youth council or one of us come up and give you the mic to ask a candidate a question at the end. Lastly, Congressional District 13 deserves strong, engaged representation. This is a seat with a powerful legacy and one that has been a voice for working families, civil rights, and the everyday people of the district. The person elected to fill this seat will shape federal policy that touches every one of our lives, and that's not something that we take lightly. Speaking of legacy, before we go any further, I'd like to ask everyone to take a moment of silence to honor the life and service of Congressman David Scott. Congressman Scott served Congressional District 13 for over 2 decades with tireless dedication to the community. His legacy is woven into the fabric of this district, and it is in his honor that we gather tonight to ensure that this seat continues to be filled with that same level of commitment and service. So if you'll pause for a minute, and we're going to honor his legacy. Thank you. It is now my pleasure to introduce Ms. Diane Fisher. She is the president of the League of Women Voters of Gwinnett County, and she has a few key voter items she'd like to share before we get into tonight's forum. So please welcome Diane Fisher.
Thank you, Ellie, and thank you all for being here. The League of Women Voters of Gwinnett is delighted to be part of tonight's program. Since 1920, the League of Women Voters has been committed to engaging all citizens in the decisions that impact their lives. Formed from the movement that secured the right to vote for women, the League's centerpiece remains the expansion of civil participation and giving a voice to all Americans through broad educational efforts and advocacy. The Gwinnett League is one of 14 local leagues that comprise the League of Women Voters of Georgia. And the fact that you are all here tonight means that you understand the importance of being an informed voter and recognize that all elections are important. As you prepare to cast your ballot for the May 19th election, here are a few things of which you should be aware. First of all, I think you all know that Election Day is May 19th. That's the last day to vote. And if you vote on May 19th, you need to do in your assigned precinct. Early voting began almost, I guess, more than 2 weeks ago, and it runs through this Friday. Every day between now and Friday from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. You can vote at one of the 13 early voting locations throughout Gwinnett County, and you can find a list of those voting sites on the Gwinnett County elections website, gwinettelections.com. Absentee ballots. If you have not actually already asked for your absentee ballot or applied for an absentee ballot, it is too late to make that application. The absentee ballot deadline was on Monday. But if you have requested a ballot, it needs to be returned by election night, May 19th at 7 p.m. You can do that at any of the 6 locations, early voting locations that have a drop box. You can just drop it in the drop box. I'm not sure which location is closest here, but again, you can look up that on the website. And if you vote at one of the locations, the early voting locations that does not have a drop box, you can actually, there's a process that you can turn it in. You'll have to fill out some additional paperwork, but you will be able to do that there as well. The Board of Elections office is also open this weekend on Saturday and Sunday from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. to accept absentee ballots, and then, of course, on Monday through Tuesday. So now that you know all of the different ways to vote, we want to make sure that you are aware of what is all on the ballot, and there's a lot of things on the ballot. You probably know that this is a primary, the general primary, which decides the candidates who will represent each party in November in the general election. Lots of different things, so obviously we have our congressional race. We'll be hearing lots more about that in just a minute. We have statewide positions, including governor, lieutenant governor, but also things like state superintendent and commissioners of agriculture, commissioners of labor, a whole host of different statewide races. All of the Georgia House and Georgia Senate seats are up for election in this cycle. There are 2 Gwinnett County Commission seats on the ballot, Districts 1 and 3. I think District 1 covers this area, so you'll have that on your ballot most likely. And in addition, we will have general election for nonpartisan races, and there's sort of 2 buckets of nonpartisan races. One will be judges, and there are a lot of different judges on the ballot. Gwinnett County Superior Court, Gwinnett County State Court races, State Court of Appeals, and the State Supreme Court. So those races are ones that you are actually going to vote, and whoever wins that race wins. We don't go into November on those. Additionally, in Gwinnett County, the Gwinnett School Board seats are nonpartisan, and so they will be on the ballot, and seats number 2 and 4, I believe 4 is the one that covers this area, so you will likely have that on your ballot as well. Certain residents in Lawrenceville, in the Lawrenceville area, will be voting on a referendum on having their property annexed into the city of Lawrenceville. You should have gotten notification if you are one of those folks who that applies to. In addition, all Gwinnett residents, except for those who live in the city of Beaufort, because they have their own school system, everybody else will vote whether or not to increase the homestead exemption from Gwinnett County School District ad valorem taxes from $8,000, where it currently is, to increase it to $10,000. A couple of things to remember about the ballot choices. If you choose a party-specific ballot, you will also find a few non-binding questions by the state political parties. These are not anything that will, it's really a temperature-taking poll. They're not binding policies. Georgia is an open primary state, and that means that you can choose a party's ballot each and every time you vote in a primary. And so the decision does not register you with a party. You don't have to choose the same party that you did in the last primary. However, if you choose a nonpartisan ballot, you will not have any of the partisan races. So none of the Democratic primary races, none of the Republican primary races. You will just have those nonpartisan races, the judges and the school board races. You will have also the homestead exemption, special election, and if it applies to you, the Lawrenceville annexation referendum. I want to remind everybody that you should be prepared to vote again on June 16th. Because that is the date for the runoff, and we have a number of races that have more than three or more candidates, so more than 2 candidates. And of course, if you don't receive 50 plus 1% of the vote, it goes to a runoff for the top 2 candidates. In that runoff, you will have to vote in the race. So if you choose a party ballot or a nonpartisan ballot, that's what you're going to be voting for again next time. You can't switch parties from the runoff, from the regular election, the general election to the runoff. And while we're talking about confusing election processes and things that might be happening, we know that on July 28th, there will be a special election to fill out the remainder of David Scott's term, which goes until January. And so there will be, in this area, you will have a special election, which has nothing to do with this election that we're going to be talking about tonight. A little bit to do with it, but know that there will be an election on the 28th of July. So how do you know what races are on your actual personal ballot? You can print a copy of your personal ballot at my voter page, mvp.sos.ga.gov, or the GwinnettCounty.com/elections websites. Remember that you are not allowed to bring your telephone into the polling place, so don't take your notes on your phone, but you can print out a ballot with all of your information. Because it is such a large ballot, you may want to take your notes with you to make sure you get, you've done your research and then you get that all right. Additionally, the League of Women Voters has an online voter guide. It is available at vote411.org. The Gwinnett League solicited information from every Gwinnett candidate on the ballot, and you will be able to see their responses in their own words from those candidates that responded. I will be in the back after the forum to answer any questions you might have. And at this point, we're going to move on to what you all are here for, which is to hear from the candidates. I'm going to turn over to President Paul from the NAACP to go with the program. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone, and I'm Edward Paul, president of the Gwinnett NAACP here in Gwinnett County. I want to thank you all for coming to tonight's Meet the Candidate Forum for the Democratic primary for Congressional District 13. I do have to have this disclosure because this is a, and I know gerrymander has been a word that's been thrown around a lot. This is a district that has been drawn in such a way that only one party, based on how that was drawn, is going to win. More than likely, your candidate that wins this primary election will be the candidate that represents you in Congress. So that is why no Republicans are here tonight. So in no way does our organization endorse the Democratic Party because Republicans are not here. If this was a Republican district, we probably would be definitely having a Republican primary candidate forum. But since this is not a competitive district and mostly just a district where whoever comes out of the primary is going to win, that's why we wanted to highlight this forum. Hopefully, we will turn out the vote in November and get some allies in the state the state House and the state Senate this fall, so that there isn't this district doesn't go away in 2028, since there is talk from the current governor about gerrymandering this district and other districts that's represented by black candidates and taking away our representation. So we're going to need you this fall in 2026 to definitely, we're going to do candidate forums around Gwinnett County for competitive, where we're going to be talking to both Republican and Democratic candidates, asking would they support eliminating representation of black Hispanic, Asian, and other groups representation, not only in Congress, but also in the state house, in the state senate, in county commissioner, for school board, for district attorney. These will be questions that we're going to ask both parties, political parties, about. So please pay attention and tune in and ask people as you see these candidates out and about, or you see their web pages, ask them, would they support the governor stripping away black representation, not only in Congress, but at the state and local level as well, because that's very important. We're going to need allies in 2026 in both the state house and the state senate to not do that. So I just want to put that out there. So whatever the governor, if it does go through, we can reverse it in January 2027 if we get the right people elected this fall in November. So saying that, to not belabor the time, I do want to ask all our great candidates for this district to come on up and take a seat. And just to remind everyone, Congressional District 13 does represent a number of different counties, not just Gwinnett. It's Clayton County, DeKalb, Henry, Newton, and Rockdale County. So for those of you who are watching online, if you live outside of Gwinnett, live in Clayton, DeKalb, Henry, Newton, or Rockdale, this could possibly be your district as well. Please go to www.mvp.sos.ga.gov. Again, www.mvp.sos.ga.gov. Check your voter registration status as well as what congressional district you live in. So at this time, if you can put 2 minutes on the clock for me, we are going to be mindful of time. I know y'all candidates love to talk, especially those of you who are already elected officials. We're going to put 2 minutes on the clock, pause it, don't start it quite yet. Take it back to 2 minutes. And then from left to right, I'm going to go from my end, I'll do it this way. Starting with Brother Joe Lester here, we're going to have you go first, 2 minutes, and allow the candidates, all of you, to introduce yourselves. Then Representative Clark, Senator Jones, Ms. Heavenly, Brother Jeff, and Everton Blair. All of you all just introduce yourselves in that order. You'll get 2 minutes, introduce yourself, say anything you want to say to the people, introducing yourself.
Good evening, everybody. Thanks for having me. My name is Joe Lester. I want to be your next U.S. Congressman, District 13. And if you heard me talk before, I've talked a lot about, I grew up on a small farm down in Hawkinsville, Georgia. And I talk about growing up on a small farm, picking cotton and pulling weeds and pulling corn, because it reminds me of a time when our community worked together. Not families, but neighbors looking out for one another. And I said that to say this, that people ask me, what is your platform? That's not a platform, but I say that is a platform because right now, our biggest concern is getting somebody who's going to go and actually work on all these issues that we outlined. Who's going to work on healthcare? Who's going to work on immigration? That's our biggest issue. I understand what a platform is. I know how to run a campaign, but I also know what's not working for us. You can't build and tear down something at the same time. If we want to move forward, and a lot of folks say this is not big, but I say it's big. If we want to move forward, we got to hold on to what brought us to where we are now. And that's faith, that's family, and our values. And we need to build on that together. My name is Joe Lester. I'm from Hawkinsville, Georgia, Fort Valley State graduate. Been a dentist in this area for over 42 years, serving the people. I want to keep doing it on a higher level as the U.S. Congressman, District 13. Thank you.
I will restart the clock. 2 minutes back on the clock.
All
right. Good afternoon, everybody, or good evening, everybody. My name is Dr. Jasmine Clark. I'm born and raised here in Georgia. I'm a mother of two that I've raised here in Gwinnett County. I'm a PhD microbiologist and college professor, and I'm also a state representative. This is just outside of the district, but I do represent about 60,000 people of the people that live in Congressional District 13. As a state rep, I have used my science background to be a voice of accountability down at the Gold Dome. I ask tough questions in both committee and on the floor. I put policy under a microscope. I consistently call out Republicans when they've lied to us, like when Brian Kemp lied about COVID data back in 2020. And I stand up for all in our community. Now I'm running to bring that science voice to Washington, D.C., to fight for public health and call out the RFK Juniors and of the world with their misinformation, to fight for life-saving research cut by people like Elon Musk, and to use a data-driven approach to lower costs for hardworking Georgians. I also believe that what we do at home is just as important as what we do in Washington, D.C. As a state representative, I've held regular town halls, back-to-school supply giveaways, community events like health fairs, including the one we're having on Saturday, May 16th at the Lilburn Library, free prostate cancer screenings, please come. And overall, I have a proven track record of being a solutions-oriented problem solver with a heart for service. And I would love for you to consider me to be your next Congresswoman so that I can address the issues that are important to you in Washington, D.C. Thank you.
All right.
I check.
Senator Jones.
Good evening, everyone. I am State Senator Emanuel Jones, and I'm running to be your next Congressman from the 13th Congressional District. There's three things I just want to share with you about who I am. First of all, I'm a veteran. I started my career as a second lieutenant. I rose to the rank of captain. I spent 19 years in the Army Corps of Engineers. Second thing is I'm a business person. I have an MBA from Columbia University in finance and accounting. I started my own business right here in Georgia 35 years ago. I'm the owner of automobile dealership in McDonough, Georgia. And third, that's really, really important, is I'm a family person. I have 3 kids, and I'm proud of my kids. They all have contributed, and they all have worked on my campaign, by the way. And they inspire me. I'm a native Atlantan, born and raised in Atlanta, Georgia. Some may know what a Grady baby means. Some in here may not. But I am one of those Grady babies. And I would tell you that my career for the last 22 years in the state Senate has been spent around protecting kids in school. I've authored several pieces of legislation that's been signed into law. Now, I always say, arguably, that I've had, as a Democrat, more bills signed into law by all of the Republican governors, and I've only served under Republican governors during the last 22 years that I've served in the state Senate. Public safety is a big project of mine. We had an officer down in Henry County that was shot. Found out that officer we had fundraisers so he wouldn't lose his home. But yet, state of Georgia had an indemnity fund that would provide funds for these police officers. And I changed the law, this bill was signed into law by Governor Kemp so that police officers and all police officers could take advantage of this indemnity fund. I am State Senator Emanuel Jones, and I'm asking for your vote and your support as your next Congressman for the 13th Congressional District.
All right, thank you. Dr. Heavenly Kimes, can we put 2 minutes back? There we go. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you all for coming, and thank you, NAACP, for having this. Listen, I always start out by saying I'm a little girl that grew up in a room with no windows. My name is Dr. Heavenly Kimes. I've been actually practicing in this district for over 25 years, serving this district for over 25 years, and actually creating jobs in this district for over 25 years. Like I said, I grew up in a room with no windows, but I had a vision that if I worked hard, that I could do or be anything I wanted to be. My mother taught me that if I worked hard and I graduated and I went to Meharry Medical College, two HBCUs, Meharry Medical College and Florida A&M University. And that's where I learned to serve the underserved. And while I was in Meharry, I met my husband. We've been married 28 years. I gave him 3 beautiful babies. But at Meharry, I got pregnant and I needed WIC and food stamps and such. And I look at it just not as a handout, but a lift up. But moving forward, today as I practice, in my practice, I see people every day that are struggling. Affordability has to be the head of my platform because I'm watching patients cut up their pills so they last to the end of the month. I'm watching patients making the terrible choices of choosing to pay their rent or buy their prescription drugs, and that's why I'm running. I work hard every day. I make sure that I actually talk to patients every day, and I'm actually firsthand talking to them about their issues. The reason I'm running is because of a lady named Miss B. She said, Heavenly, I'm sick and tired of politics as usual. Every time I get behind a politician, they leave us, and we don't see them anymore. I'm not here for a title. I'm not here for a come up. I'm here for the people. My name is Dr. Heavenly Kimes, and you can learn more about my policy at drheavenlyforgeorgia.com. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Dr. Kimes. And Dr. Yep, go ahead, Dr. Jeff.
Thank you. My name is Dr. Jeff Fauntleroy, Sr. Talk is easy. Standing in the trenches with the people is harder. For more than 2.5 decades, I didn't just talk about working families. I stood beside them as a father, as a grandfather, as a husband, law enforcement officer, pastor, caregiver, community advocate, and business owner. I've seen firsthand what inflation, healthcare costs, public safety challenges, and broken systems do to real families in Georgia's 13th Congressional District. I didn't show up when it was convenient or when cameras were rolling. I showed up when families were hurting, when communities needed advocacy, and when solutions required action. No vanity politics or rehearsed talking points. Leadership isn't about polished statements. It's about proven presence. It's about listening before legislating, serving before self-promotion, and putting people over politics every single time. I believe in humane and lawful immigration with dignity. I believe in lowering costs by strengthening local economies and wages, not empty promises. I believe healthcare is a right and not a privilege. And I believe public safety works best when communities and government work together. I fought for the citizens of District 13, and I'll continue in Washington, D.C. as your congressional representative. Georgia's 13th Congressional District doesn't need another voice repeating what sounds good. It needs leadership with a record of service, sacrifice, and solutions. I've been in the work. I'm ready to continue the work for the people, not appearance. My name is Dr. Jeff Fauntleroy. My website is drjefffordistrict13.org. Thank you.
All right, we can put there. All right, Everton Blair.
Thank you to the Gwinnett NAACP for putting this event on, and also to Berean Church. My name is Dr. Everton Blair, and growing up, people called me EJ. I actually grew up in Snellville, Georgia, where we are, and attended Shiloh Elementary, Middle, and High School. And because of the incredible teachers and the incredible educational resources I got right here in Gwinnett, I was able to go to Harvard and Stanford and work for President Obama in the White House Initiative on Educational Excellence for African Americans. And I saw broken systems firsthand. And it set me on a path to really do everything I could to challenge them. To this day, my most difficult job was actually being a 12th grade math teacher in the city of Atlanta, where my kids challenged me. I was 21 and they were 18. And I saw how much they needed and how much, as an educator, I was not able to move systems or shape policy outside of the bounds of my classroom. And so I came back after working for President Obama, and I ran for school board at a time when we had never elected a person of color in Gwinnett County's 200-year history. I made history, but I did not do that just so that I could be the only person closing the door behind me, or that I had to struggle to get the things done. So I built power. I recruited Democrats who then flipped their seats and then was elected unanimously to serve as the board chair of the largest and most diverse county in this state during the pandemic, our most trying times. I am battle tested and I'm ready. I can talk to anybody and I can go in the trenches and actually change things, to change systems that we know are broken and are not working for us anymore. What I believe this district needs is a generational change, somebody who has seen things as they have gone on over decades and is ready to actually take the mantle forward, carry us forward, and deliver real solutions that change our lives. And we cannot do that by doing the same old, or by being bought or beholden to the same corporate or status quo interests that have put us in this place in the first place. Again, my name is Dr. Everton Blair. I've got a Black economic agenda on my website that I hope we will have time to dig into, but if not, I'll stay after and answer any questions that anyone has. Thank you all for being here.
All right, thank you, Everton Blair. Thank you to all the candidates for y'all opening introductions. All right, so now we're in the Q&A portion, and these questions come from our branch, and then we'll take some questions from the floor. So at this time, can we put 90 seconds on the clock for Q&A? All right, and I'm gonna start with Everton. I'm gonna work in reverse order this time, and then we'll work our way back down to Joe here, Joe Lester. So Everton Blair, starting with you. We just gonna come off the top rope and address the elephant in the room. The Supreme Court, with all the recent decisions that the Supreme Court has made to cut the Voting Rights Act, would you support, if elected to Congress, either expanding the Supreme Court or term limits on the Supreme Court? Why not?
Absolutely yes to both. This is where Democrats haven't been using our power. And in fact, we abdicated an opportunity to not be in this predicament in the first place if we had actually used the power of the Senate to get rid of the filibuster and pack the courts in 2022 when we sent John Ossoff and Raphael Warnock there in the first place. But in Congress, one of the things that we can do in the House is pass the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act immediately. And we can do it. We've done it before. We just need to continue to put the pressure on the Senate to not let the filibuster stand in the way. And if they're going to unconstitutionally draw out black representation, we need to use every piece of power that we have, break quorum, use parliamentary procedure to jam the gears of this administration. Think about ways that you can actually mobilize more people and expand the electorate, particularly our young people who would be excited by a next generation candidate to participate and actually get some things done. But absolutely yes on term limits. This Supreme Court is a sham of a court in the first place. Two of the justices have no business even being there because they should have been appointed by a Democrat, and we should have had Merrick Garland there in the first place. And so I believe that we take every opportunity to do deep structural reform, and Democrats need to use power when we have power. Thank you for the question.
All right, put 90 seconds back on the clock.
Yes to expanding, and yes to term limits. And when it comes to voting rights, I think one of the problems is we've tried to shove everything down the throat. Instead, what I would do is I would go for introducing individual parts of the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. I would increase it because it increases the chances of passing. I would push for a law that will publicly disclose changes to the voting laws and share data about redistricting. I would push to ban discriminatory polling place closures. I would push to end last-minute changes to polling places. I would push these changes that would make it easier to sue for violations of the 1965 Voting Rights Act. The hard part of this is the part that requires federal government oversight before states change voting laws. But we can have all the plans that we have, that we want to talk about tonight. But Mike Tyson said it this way. He said, everybody has a plan until they're punched in the face. And how we keep getting punched in the face is we don't come out and vote. And when we don't come out and vote, the Republicans punch us in the face. And they put laws in front of us that are negative towards our community.
All right, thank you for that. And Dr. Kimes, same question to you.
Yeah, definitely. We have definitely been punched in the face. It is a time right now that we all have to come together. Yes, our voting rights has been a target for quite a long time. And I feel like Democrats have not done enough. Just like you said, we should have been passed the John Lewis's Voting Rights Act. It is 2026 in a time that we're looking at it. And the issue is, just like he said, people are not voting. The people that are 55 plus understand the importance of getting out there and vote because they remember everything we went through to get to that act, to get to the right to vote. Right now, they're doing all kind of things. They're trying to do nonpartisan ballots. It used to be a time where you could actually register to vote the day of the election. They changed that, right? And now they're trying to make it very harder and harder for us to vote. At this time, when the Supreme Court has weakened our protections that once guaranteed minority communities a voice in our democracy, many are asking whether this district will even survive. My answer is simple. Again, our power was never confined to lines on a map. Our power comes from the people. If they redraw the districts, then we have to redraw the future. We have to pay attention to everything that's going on in elections and vote for people that are for the people and not politics as usual. I'll say over and again, Washington has enough politicians. They need somebody real and relatable that is for the people and will speak up and speak out for the people. I'm Dr. Heavenly Kimes, and I'm running for Congress.
All right, thank you. Put 90 seconds back on the clock. Senator Jones.
Absolutely, yes to both questions. We certainly should limit the terms, or we should expand the terms of our Supreme Court justices, by the way. Let me just tell you, I've been part of redistricting efforts 3 times in the state of Georgia. It is not anything pretty. And the reason why I say that is because during the redistricting process, the party in power controls the entire redistricting. And in Georgia, for the last 22 years that I've served in the General Assembly, we've been under Republican leadership. So the Republicans are the ones who have gone into the back rooms, they've made the back deals, they're the ones who's come up with the maps. And those of us that serve in the General Assembly, we've had very little impact on them. But let me tell you what we have done in the General Assembly. We've fought like hell to make sure that we had our voices heard. There's terms that I think all of us should be familiar with. Those terms are pack, stacking, and cracking. If you don't know anything else about redistricting, if you can remember pack, stacking, and cracking. Packing is where you pack a whole lot of people in one district. Stacking is where you stack districts too close together like we've done here in Metro Atlanta. And crack is when you crack open a particular district, particularly one of interest to a particular party. We have to change that, and I tell you, there's no better way to do that other than voting. And I mean really voting. You know, take your brother, your sister, your aunt, your auntie, take them all to the polls and vote.
Thank you. Representative Clark.
So to answer your question, absolutely yes. We have 13 appellate court judges, and we should, or circuits, and we should have 13 Supreme Court justices. I am also for term limits. I do think that we are seeing what happens when people just refuse to give up power. That said, when it comes to what we are dealing with right now, as Senator Jones mentioned, I've been in this process, and it is an ugly process. I've been elected 4 times. I've served 4 terms. I have served in 3 different districts because I have been redrawn multiple times. And I can tell you right now, one of the things that happened was the last time they redrew my district, they redrew me, and there was a district that we make a heat map, and it was red on the map. And they were counting on that particular precinct to knock me out of the state legislature. You know what we did? We mobilized, we canvassed, we phone banked, we did everything we could. And we turned that heat map from red to navy blue, not even light blue, navy blue. The power of mobilizing. When they come after us, we have a blueprint from history. We can fight back and we can win. I have seen it done myself in this district.
Thank you. Representative Clark and Joe Lester.
Tough question. No easy answer. But attack on voting rights is just attack on black people. Just call it what it is. Attack on black folks, the same folks attacking voting rights are the same folks that's attacking diversity and inclusion. They're the same folks that's attacking our economy. They're the same folks right after the Civil War that set us free and gave us no plan to move forward. We can sugarcoat it and talk about it any way we want to, but voting rights, diversity, and inclusion is an attack on black folks. How do we fix it? How do we fix it is the question. We fix it by mobilizing and pulling some folks together at the polls. Until we fill this room with confirmed voters, we're going to be struggling. We can talk about putting 8 folks, 20 folks in the Supreme Court, but you ain't going to get 1 person on the Supreme Court if you do not have the vote. You got to get people mobilized, and you're going to do that by putting candidates out there people get excited about. We're going to have to get it out to the community. We're going to have to do more than just ask for votes. But we're going to have to get some trust building people so they'll show up at the poll and vote so we can get enough numbers to change it. If we don't get the numbers to change it, we're just talking with theories and philosophy. Nothing's going to happen until we mobilize and pull ourselves together. I'm Joe Lester. Need your vote. Working for your vote. Will earn your vote. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Joe Lester. So next question, and this is about recent legislation that passed at the beginning of this current administration. Many voters are concerned about the recently passed, and I'm gonna call it, it's officially called One Big Beautiful Bill, but I'm gonna say One Big Ugly Bill. What aspects of this legislation, and I'm starting with you, Mr. Lester. What aspects of the legislation concern you the most, and what changes or alternatives would you advocate for if elected to Congress?
Beautiful bill. I hate to say I don't even know, but I don't know anything beautiful about a bill that cuts money out of health care. I don't know anything beautiful about a bill that sets billions of dollars into immigration, just hunt down folks for no reason other than race. Again, I'll go back to what I talked about a few minutes ago. We can keep talking about what we will do as a candidate, but this is not a I deal. This is not what Joe gonna do. My campaign is about what are we gonna do as a group of people. I can't do all this by myself, and I don't claim to know all the answers, but I know that if we pull enough people together in this community, we can make changes. We can stop the big, beautiful bill, but we're gonna keep having big, beautiful bills from now on until we fill this room again with voters that's gonna step up and fight. So I'll say that I don't have all the answers, but I do know this is not an I campaign that Joe is running. I'm running the campaign of us. What I want to do as soon as I get elected is come back into this community, pull some folks together, and let's sit down and see how we're going to figure out how we're going to fix some of the things in our community. I am tired of candidates coming to the community telling me, this is what I'm going to do for you, and they haven't even talked to me to see what I want. So first thing I'm going to do, Joe Lester's going to do, is pull some folks together in all these communities, and we're going to sit down and see how we're going to fix some of the things that's going wrong in our community. No more big, beautiful bills.
All right, it is time. Representative Clark.
Yeah, so HR 1, or the big bloated billionaire bill, as I used to call it, had a lot of devastating effects, but one of those really devastating effects was the impact on healthcare and also on public health. So this bill cut Medicaid, and one of the things it did was it actually modeled Georgia's failed model of requiring work requirements for people to be eligible for Medicaid. We actually are doing this right now in Georgia, and it is failing abysmally. Additionally, you saw cuts to Medicare, and we saw cuts to the ACA premium tax credits, which has caused over 500,000 Georgians to lose their health insurance. That impacts them, it impacts their family, it impacts our doctors, it impacts our hospitals. This is something that has a major impact on the entirety of our state. And I also want to point out, because it doesn't get mentioned enough, that bill also removed advanced practice nurses from the list of professional degrees so that they did not have access to certain types of student loans at a time where we have a healthcare shortage and a nursing shortage in our state. So those are the things that I think are extremely detrimental among the many things that were detrimental in the big bloated billionaire bill.
All right, thank you. Senator Jones, you need me to repeat the question, or are you good?
Well, I would tell you that the worst part, in my opinion, of the big, beautiful bill is allowing this president to create a slush fund of how he wanted to spend money and create new priorities for himself. And he did that by cutting, as has been said over here earlier, funds for the Affordable Care Act. As a business person, I have about 65, 70 employees that work for me. And when you take someone's health care away, which is essentially what he's done in this big, beautiful bill, then they have to try and make that up somewhere else, and it hurts their budget. This bill, which is, has been said to my good friend over here, there's nothing beautiful about it, when this president has saw fit to jump on really the least and the lost and those that need help most in this country. And much to the benefit of his own billionaire buddies. When I think about what this president has done in kicking people off of health care, to me, there's nothing worse that could have happened in this country. And then he reorganized and reprioritized things by saying, okay, I want to empower ICE to go out in our communities, in Hispanic communities across this country, and arbitrarily put people in prison. To me, that's the worst thing that could have happened for this legislation.
All right, that is time. Dr. Heavenly Kimes.
Thank you. Yeah, the Big Beautiful Bill is probably the one single most important part of reason I'm running. I see firsthand, not in theory, but I see patients every day that are affected by the Big Beautiful Bill. Like you said, over 350,000 people lost their medical insurance overnight, right? This is why it's so important that you vote for people that are not bought, that are not going to just vote in the way that everybody else is voting, and vote for the interests of the people. When I look at the Big Beautiful Bill, it is personal to me because my son has mental health challenges. If you look at the Big Beautiful Bill, they put a blanket over our people, meaning people with autism, people with mental health problems, people with epilepsy. They cannot hold down a job for 80 hours. They cannot do community service, and some of them cannot go to school. If you look at the Georgia Pathway System, which I've had people look at, if you're over 18 and you're under 64, those people are being left out. The Georgia Pathways takes care of the Peach Care for Kids, the Medicare, which has problems, and Medicare has problems with these 65 and older, but this group of people are being left out. You actually have to look at people and I feel like all people have value. Every life has value. And I'm seeing every day people choosing between lives and actually politics as usual. And I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. And I'm sick of politics as usual. We need somebody that's there for the people and the people only. Not for titles, not for come-ups, but for the people. My name is Dr. Heavenly Kimes.
All right, Dr. Jeff Fauntleroy.
That bill was horrible for our community and those that look like us and beyond. They cut health care. I would fight and I would work with Representative Jayapal and Senator Bernie Sanders for universal health care and universal child care. I would vote to fund medical schools such as Meharry Medical School, Morehouse School of Medicine, and other medical schools in this area such as Emory. I would eliminate ICE. It's a duplication of service. The United States Marshal Service was created to do the very thing that ICE is carrying out. It's a duplication of service and a waste of money. I would make sure to fund education and career and technical education. I just came back from UGA, my granddaughter's track meet, and I was talking to some of the parents. And I've had parents that actually cry to me because they tell me that they take loans out just so that their children can participate in sports. Putting your children in sports, some of you know this, can cost from $300 up to $1,500 or more. That's ridiculous. I know parents that are taking out loans just so that their school-age children can play sports. Also, I would make sure to fund the Department of Justice and take it out of the hands of the president's personal law firm.
All right, thank you. Everton Blair.
I agree with a lot of what's been said. Trump's ugly bill had devastating impacts, especially here in Georgia's 13th. I lost my health care coverage actually while that bill was being passed, and I felt it like acutely firsthand. And we all witnessed the tyrannical rogue administration of ICE, which was the only thing that got increased funding over the time frame that we were protesting and shutting the government down to really litigate whether or not we were going to continue with his crazy funding scheme. And as a child of Jamaican immigrants, like that hits home closely for me as well. But the bigger picture here is that we have been doing Reaganomic trickle-down economics for about 40 years in this country. And Trump's bill just accelerated it. It gave tax cuts to billionaires and to big businesses. Those are the exact same people who pick politicians and prop up certain campaigns and do not allow for us to have the free and fair exercise to pick somebody who will fight for people first, right? And so that's why we don't have tax credits that we did pass in the Biden era, because the big ugly bill actually rolled those back. The ACA subsidies rolled back, but we still found billions of dollars a day to put ourselves in an endless war in Iran. We still found billions of dollars to be able to give to billionaires. And we still found billions of dollars in tax cuts and tax credits for data centers and artificial intelligence that is ravaging our economy and our communities. If we don't elect somebody who's going to fix that, we're in dire straits.
All right, thank you. And Everton, we'll stay with you and work our way down. So Congress, in Congressional District 13, it includes a lot of working families, small businesses, and rapidly growing communities. What would be your plan to bring sustainable, high-paying jobs and economic investment back in the district?
Yeah, this is the power of being a public school educator, because I've got, in my Black economic agenda, I've got a huge set of plans, one being a tax plan, but another being an education plan for reskilling. We need to resist automation, and right now the data centers and artificial intelligence are disrupting our economy, so we need to put a moratorium on any new expenditure, but until we have regulation that makes sure that our communities are made whole. But education is going to be the key to making sure that we have good jobs in our community. What Maynard Jackson did for the city of Atlanta expanded Black wealth in our state, right? But Black folks don't just live in Atlanta anymore. There are no Atlanta addresses in Georgia's 13th congressional district. We live in suburbs like Gwinnett and Newton and Rockdale and Jones and Clayton and Henry. So we now need the next generation of leaders who will invest in the infrastructure that needs to exist in the suburbs outside of Atlanta and bring dollars home so that Black businesses, that small business owners can have the access to the grants that have been closed down under this administration. So it will take some time, but if you have a leader who is drumming that beat consistently and moving forward and making sure that not just when you're back home doing constituent services, that you know the map of where all of your small businesses are in the community and what they need to continue to thrive, but you also have access to the resources in the purse to bring grants and to restore the cuts to the agencies that are designed to make sure that these small businesses get and have what they need. That's the way that we get out of this and the way that we keep good jobs in our community.
All right, thank you. Dr. Jeff?
So economic development, it includes creating more businesses, and you need a candidate who understands small business, a candidate who has small business and who has owned businesses. It means creating a thriving economy and raising the federal minimum wage. We need to raise this federal minimum wage. People can't afford to live in the communities where they work in, and that's ridiculous. We need to work on affordable housing and affordable health care and child care with access to preventive mental health care. I go back to the affordable health care and child care. We've had people who have children who are paying between $7,000 and $13,000 in tuition. That is the cost of some in-state college tuitions. That's just ridiculous. I would bring back the Mental Health Systems Act of 1980 to make sure that we have mental health care in our communities, along with access and funding access to maternal and prenatal care, allowing doulas and midwives to be allowed in hospitals again.
All right, thank you. Dr. Heavenly Kimes?
Yes, sir. The way we thrive with the economy as a business owner for over 25 years in every county of this district, I realized that we have to create jobs. And in order to create jobs, we have to take care of small Black businesses, making sure that we have access to federal loans and federal funding, that we can keep these businesses afloat. A lot of people don't realize the red tape that small businesses go through, but not only that, when they get the money, they can actually increase the federal minimum wage. I say, a lot of people say $15, I say $25 and negotiate from there, because $15 is not a livable wage. Right now, minimum wage in the state of Georgia is $5.15. Y'all know how much a loaf of bread is, or how much a gallon of gas is, or how much a gallon of milk is, right? We need to actually take care of our people. And I always advocate for education, meaning a 4-year degree, but I understand that that's not the only way to success. We need to have trade schools. Just like he said, we need to have child care. We need to have programs and bring programs back. And when we do have programs with DEI, we take over. Black women are leading in entrepreneurship and education. Once we have those programs in place, we will make sure that we take advantage of those things and make sure that each person has an opportunity in this district. One thing I would say for sure is a lot of our federal tax dollars go up to Washington, D.C. What we have to do is make sure we have a congressperson that's here for the people to bring back our money for different programs to make sure that we have a pathway to success.
All right, Senator Jones?
Thank you. Let me just say that there's a role for government in working with businesses. There's always that symbiotic relationship. We all know the government is a lender of last resort. And if you're going to have any kind of business, it's critical that you have, first of all, access to capital, and you got to have access to people. And the time that when I started my business, there wasn't a whole lot of places where I could go to borrow money. But one place where I could was the SBA. And because of that relationship with guarantees through the SBA, I was able to borrow money so that I could start my own business. In the 13th Congressional District, I think it's critically important that we generate jobs and that we also create an academic environment so that we can get people hired. Let me give you a good example of what I'm talking about. Georgia Perimeter Technical College, which kind of sits on the border not too far from here. I got $6 million to expand the curriculum offering at Georgia Perimeter Technical College through our budget at the state legislature. And Georgia Perimeter Technical College today provides most of the CDL training. They provide most of the training for model bus drivers. They provide most of the training for Southern Company. And those students that attend are given scholarships as well. That's that relationship that I'm talking about between business hiring people and government creating opportunities. And that's what I would do as your next congressperson for the 13th Congressional District.
All right, Representative Clark.
Yeah, so I think a lot has been said tonight about investment in education, and that is absolutely correct. We must make sure that we're pouring into the future by investing in our children right now. I think a lot has also been said about making sure we have pathways to entrepreneurship and that we support our small businesses. But let's be really honest. When it comes to economic development, jobs do not come to places where they don't feel like the people who work in those jobs can thrive. They care about the schools that are in those places. They care about access to hospitals and doctors' offices. They want to know that their employees can actually buy a home in the area where they work. So when we think about economic development, we need to think about a larger ecosystem that acknowledges that all of the policies that we talk about on this stage, that we will likely talk about tonight, all of them are a part of economic development. I'm telling you, jobs do not want to come here if you got low-rated schools. They just don't want to. They want to know that the people can actually afford to buy a home. But right now in Congressional District 13, there is a huge amount of homes that are bought up by out-of-state investors, and so people can't actually purchase homes in this community. So if we want to build up our economy, we have to acknowledge that it's bigger than just the jobs itself. It is supporting the entire community.
All right, and Joe Lester.
I'm trying to figure out how to answer this question. I asked this question to one of my patients in the office a couple of days ago. I said, well, how do we build an economy? She said, first thing, Doc, you got to do is block the folks, stop the folks from blocking money from coming into our community. And I started to think about it a little bit, and she was right. I've been a business owner for 42 years. When I first went to the bank to get a loan for my dental practice, the guy told me I need $100,000 before we talk to him. That's blocking, y'all. Until we get to the point that we can get access to capital, I heard folks say that get rid of the red tape in the SBA. Well, the red tape was put in the SBA for a reason. It was to stop certain folks from getting money. I remember when I opened my first dental office, I had a good friend of mine who gave me $2,000 to open the business. I had a guy that had rental property that let me rent it for 6 months. What am I saying? I am saying if we're going to pull ourselves up, we're going to have to pull ourselves together and start helping each other. Jobs not coming. Why the school's bad? Because we ain't got no money to pay the taxes. When in the community, when all the folks leave and take their tax money with us, all of a sudden we got failing schools. We don't have failing schools. We got failing schools because our community is struggling with money. We don't have the money. Until we can get some money in our community, we're going to struggle. That's it.
All right. Thank you, Joe Lester. So at this time, I'm going to ask, and I'm going to step down a little bit, that anybody that we're going to take questions from the audience. I know those of you all online, y'all used to us letting y'all ask questions, but we switched it up on y'all. We're going to give the people that showed up an opportunity to come up and ask questions. Can we put 60 seconds on the clock? We're going to have a lightning round. We'll let anybody, the guests that are here tonight, if you want to come up and ask a question to the candidates, you can. And any one of you all can jump in, take the question. You'll get 60 seconds to answer. So we're going to ask anybody that want to come down and ask a question. Otherwise, I'll continue with our Q&A. Oh, we do have one of our former secretary and member coming up right now to ask her question.
Thank you. My first question, because if nobody else has, I do have more. Dang. Okay. Let's tackle gun violence. What are your thoughts? Especially being that Georgia is an open carry state. What about the rest of the country and the fact that our representatives just keep wanting to say thoughts and prayers and not do anything about the access to guns? And I am a gun owner, so I am not talking about taking my gun away, but there's other things that can be done to make sure that it's not getting into the wrong hands.
All right, we can put 60 seconds back on the clock. There we go.
Sure, I'll take that. From my background and also having had a loss in our family, one of the things I would do is tighten licensing procedures. And along with the licensing procedures, there needs to be training. I can't understand how you can just go and buy a gun and not have a license and not have any training. It's just ridiculous to me. As a law enforcement officer, we had to go through 18, 19 weeks of training before we could even handle a weapon. So I would make sure that we tighten the licensing, make sure that we have some mental health constraints, and make sure that we have some training involved for you to be able to have a weapon legally.
And Representative Clark?
Yes, I want to jump in here as well because this is near and dear to my heart. I have a child that goes to school, and it really does bother me that when I send my child off to school, I worry about whether or not I'm going to get that text message or that robocall. It is something that literally sits on my mind the moment my daughter pulls out of the driveway. We have a public health crisis when it comes to gun violence. It is the #1 cause of death of children. And we have solutions that are common sense solutions that do not involve taking guns. It's not controversial to have universal background checks. It's not controversial to say ban bump stocks. It's not controversial to even say, there are certain types of guns that just should not be proliferating in our communities. And so we just need someone that is bold enough to get up there, work with congresspeople that are already doing this work, and try to get more done to tackle the gun violence problem and also bring back the Office of Gun Violence Prevention and Intervention.
I'd just like to add, I also support and advocate for the common sense gun safety laws, but the reason why we don't get them passed is because of the stronghold that the NRA has on our system and the big money that is in politics. We keep kind of overlooking this reality that a broken system is going to get the results that it is designed to create. And this system, the Congress as it currently stands, is broken because special interests like the gun lobby can resist everything that Moms Demand Action and Everytown USA and every common sense gun reform that we all are probably in consensus in this room on is advocating for. And it is because we cannot have more politicians who are willing to get the money out of politics, stand up against the status quo, and drain the stronghold that the lobbies have on our members of Congress who refuse to do what is actually in their hearts. Until we reverse that part of the system, we're going to continue to be spiraling in this calibration of tinkering around the edges and doing very, very marginal things instead of attacking things from their root.
Thank you. And the next round, I'm going to allow another guest to ask a question, but be prepared to answer it. Senator Jones, then Joe Lester, then Dr. Kimes. Go right ahead.
Thank you. Speaking of special interests, everywhere we look, we're talking about AI, right? But we know that there are many benefits with AI, all the efficiency it brings, but it also brings some challenges to our communities. Jobs, it brings challenges of our water, our air quality. And so my question to the candidates is, what will you do to balance the benefits and the consequences of AI in our communities? And the other one, you don't have to answer now, but I really want you to think about it. Once a winner is selected, will you guys come together to unify, to mobilize, and to get people out? Because you all have said that it's going to take all of us to do this. We're tired of the infighting between political parties. We need to come together to make this happen.
I think it's okay to clap for that, by the way. Excellent question, by the way. And let me just kind of share with you two bills. And if you got a pencil, I would encourage you to write these numbers down. Senate Bill 34 and Senate Bill 410. Senate Bill 34, Senate Bill 410. You can look them up on the internet. This recent session, we were poised to pass Senate Bill 34. Within Senate Bill 34, it limits the state expenditure and tax credits for these data centers. It also mandates that these data centers pay their own rates. We had some provisions in there for solar power for most of the data centers rather than drawing down off of the grid. There's some really good language in Senate Bill 34. We had bipartisan support for the bill. The Lieutenant Governor pulled it off at the very last moment. What we replaced that bill with was Senate Bill 410. Senate Bill 410 passed. You can go and look this up for yourself. Within Senate Bill 410, essentially, the state of Georgia punted and said, we're essentially not going to do anything because Georgia Power and the other big lobbyists came in, Google as well.
All right, Senator Jones, we do got time. Dr. Kynes, well, Joe and then Dr. Kynes. If y'all want to jump in and answer, if you don't, we can go to the next.
I'll jump in. I've never been elected to anything, so I don't know anything about no Senate bills or numbers. But I will say I got a whole lot of common sense. Start with the data centers. Data centers are here to stay. We're going to have to come up with some regulation to govern how they work. But I'd say that some smart person out there going to come up to make those data centers work more efficient. That's where we come in. Invest some money in education, trade programs, and young minds so we can fix this data system problem. Regulate it, I'm not saying not regulate it, but lean more toward how we're going to fix this issue with data centers and this new technology. I remember when cell phone towers was a big issue. I remember when I had a computer that stretched the whole wall, and now computers on a phone. Data centers going to be here to stay because we use them. Everybody uses them. We're using them right now. They're not going anywhere. We need laws and regulations, yes, but invest in some academic so we can fix that problem.
All right, and Dr. Kynes, if you wanna pass. All right, next question.
All right, real quick. I'm, like my predecessor just said, I'm sick of politics as usual, as it's happening now. I'm tired of the party politics on both sides as they're happening because people like me are left in the middle of the road. We feel like we have no home. First question is, what are you all posing to break down the barriers that are happening between both parties going at each other that the common man feel like he's getting left out? And the other thing is, I heard ethical immigration. What is, anybody can answer this, what does that look like to you?
Dr. Kynes, you want to jump in?
Absolutely. I feel you, sir. I feel you that we see politics as usual. And I always say it's not about left and right. And, you know, I was actually on a radio show not too terribly long ago, and they said that, hey, and when you talk about your people, what people are you talking about? I don't think it's about black and white. I don't think it's about Democratic and Republican. I think it's about top and bottom. And when I think about the things that are going on with the administration and everything, I often look at it as a patient. I always look at the pain points. They say I'm, guilty of talking about black people, but we have 32 teeth. But I look at the tooth that's hurting. And right now, our African-American people are hurting right now with jobs, with health care and such. What we have to do is start electing people that are here for the people. I've said it over and over again. Washington has enough politicians. They got plenty of them. They need somebody that's here for one reason only, not for titles, not for anything like that, but actually to help the people. And this is pretty easy because Congress is here. And I'm talking to veterans. I got 1 minute, but yeah, you got to talk to the people in the district and get their input.
Go right ahead, Representative Coyne.
I think this is an important question because I think in order to get things done, you have to be able to stand on principles, stand on your values, but also be willing to work with people to get things done. As a state representative, I'm the co-chair of something called the Georgia Future Caucus. It looks at technology, and it looks at, things that younger people are caring about right now. And when you talk to them, they don't actually care, Democrat or Republican. They care about policy. And so I always say, I can work with you when you're right, but if you're wrong, I will fight back. And that is the way that I think that we need to do this. We have to be able to stand on our values, but we also have to acknowledge that nothing happens with stagnation. And so you've got to be willing to have those conversations. And you can't do that if you go into the door immediately being like, I don't want to talk to you.
All right, I'm going to go to the next question, and then anybody can jump in that hasn't spoke outside of Dr. Clark and Dr. Clark and Dr. Kynes.
I actually don't have a question. I have a statement. I'm Mrs. Scott, Congressman David Scott's wife. I want to thank each and every one of you all for supporting my husband over the years. I've come out particularly because Gwinnett was one of the first places when the lines were first drawn that he ran in and won. We also had Rockdale, Newton, DeKalb, Clayton, and parts of South Fulton. I know how it is. I've been with my husband 57 years. I've licked a lot of stamps. I've made a lot of calls. I've taken postcards to the mail. Some of you all probably got them. Some of you probably had yard signs in your yard when my husband passed. He was working for the people. And guess what? They may have cut the head off, but they left the body. I'm going to be here working, helping, and doing what I can to make sure that this community stay the type of community that my husband worked so hard for. He loved Gwinnett. I am sorry for the people here that did not get a chance to get to his job fairs and health fairs and other things that he had in store for you. But his dream lives on in my daughter, Marcy. Marcy, would you please stand? Marcy is running for the unexpired seat that my husband left. You all elected my husband. He didn't get a chance to even fill that seat because he couldn't even get to some of the meetings, interrupted by some of the people that are sitting right here on the dais. Be careful. $3 million should not buy a seat in the 13th district. And you have one of your candidates that's sitting right there. I'm not going to call names, okay? But just be careful. I love each and every one of you all, and my husband did too. Thank you. I will be praying for everyone.
All right, thank you, Ms. Scott, for that. All right, they've got these beautiful kiddos here. I'll let y'all ask y'all a question.
So only one kid wanted to ask a question. The whole team came. So I'll be surprised too.
If one of you become Congress, what would you do for the education, like children in colleges and high schoolers and mid school?
You want me to repeat it for you? Yeah. Okay, so basically what she's saying is if you get elected to Congress, what will you do for the children and their education in middle school and high school and all the schools?
I'd love to take this answer first, if that's okay. Thank you for asking that question and showing so much bravery by coming up here and exercising your voice. As a former public school teacher and the former chairman of, I believe, are y'all Gwinnett County students? Yeah, I was your school board member. And I believe it's really important that we have teachers that make more money and have more capacity, more people in the building that can help you and give you what you need. People you can talk to, but also people who can encourage you and people who can show you the way forward and give you more skills and hobbies and things that you can do in school and after school. So I'm gonna provide funding. I'm gonna work hard to get you some money that can be in programs that lets you explore your talent and have more educational opportunities. On the front end, though, that means that you have to be able to read and write and excel in your math and reading courses. So I'm going to have more investments there. And then on the back end, I want you to be able to graduate from high school and do whatever is in your mind. All of your dreams can be pursued with the right investments, especially as it relates to college and career readiness. So I've got a plan for all of those. But thank you for asking your question.
So
go ahead. I'm gonna let you go ahead.
As a former school board member and vice president, college trustee, and teacher, one of the things that I would do is make sure that we fund our schools. Make sure they have the proper funding, and open up classrooms like AP classes and dual enrollment classes to people that look like us. One of the other things is what we did was we provided low-interest mortgages to our teachers so that they can live and work in the same area. So I would push for funding for those low-interest mortgages for those educators, and then also make sure that they have monies for in-service training so they can further their education to make sure that our young people are provided with the best education possible.
All right, and we're getting to a close. I'm gonna let these last two people ask their question, and then we're gonna wrap up. Go right ahead.
First, I have one question I want to ask, but I have a point I want to make as well too. In regards to data center, there is regulation already in place in regards to data center. So it's not any new regulation that needs to be put in. It's just holding the people accountable for this, what's already put into place. And when data centers are being built, they have to allocate a portion of their funds to go towards infrastructure within their areas. So you can hold them accountable, but you need to be holding the local elected officials accountable for their funds that's coming into them and how they're spending them out. And I know that because I work in a data center. I work in research and development right now. I have a master's in security, and I work on new emerging technologies. So those funds are given back to the community. They're just not being spent out into the community. My question, though, is the question that wasn't answered is what do you do to work with, what can you do or plan on doing working with local elected officials to bring higher paying jobs into those low income areas? Because I'm a born and raised Georgia boy. I come from Macon and Stone Mountain. And when I first started my career back in 1999, I had a tech job working off of Tucker Road. And those jobs quickly got moved out into the Atlanta area. And right now, my current lab I work in is out of Alpharetta, in areas that even us that's working in labs, we cannot afford to live over there because the median cost of homes over there start at $800,000. So what do you plan on doing to entice those companies, not small businesses, because not everybody wants to be an entrepreneur, and we still have not raised minimum wage in this state. So even when small business owners start employing people, they aren't paying them the $30 wages it would take to even pay for health care or to have money to get away from WIC and some of those other things. So what can you do to entice some of the major companies to come back into those parts of town to where I don't have to commute an hour and 20 minutes when I have to go into my lab to do any work?
Anybody can jump in.
Well, that's a compound question, and you should have more than 60 seconds to answer it, by the way. Thank you for that question. And we're going to disagree about data centers because from the political perspective, I see the tax incentives that we dole out at the state level to data centers in order to build and relocate. I also seen the numbers from Southern Company in terms of the expenditures as it relates to power generation at these data centers. We all love data centers. I'm a double E. I started my career as an electrical engineer. And I am a proponent of technology, by the way, but we have to find a way to make it economically as well as environmentally friendly to the communities in which these, some 40 acres, by the way, data centers thrive and survive. So thank you for that particular question. In terms of the second part of your question, as an elected official, we know that businesses are going to relocate into communities where there's an educated workforce, which is why I mentioned Georgia Perimeter Technical College and the investment that the state has made and the federal government has made in building those kind of facilities. And when we can educate the workforce, that means those businesses have a much easier chance of getting a well-educated workforce so they can survive and thrive.
Thank you. Go ahead, Everton, and then we're going to get to our final question from the floor.
Thank you. Yeah, so I think in terms of the accountability piece, the regulation, the accountability piece, this is where Congress just isn't doing enough in its oversight capacity. And so that's where I think the congressional oversight committees, right, that especially regulate commerce and agriculture. A lot of data centers are regulated because they're commodities. So they're actually regulated in agriculture. There's a ton of opportunity for us to just really rein in some of the crazy practices that we know are being taken and exploiting communities, particularly black and brown communities where data centers are more likely to reside. On the other end, though, I think that we need to have more connection to our local and state leaders just by picking up the phone. A member of your staff can sit in every planning and zoning meeting in every part of every city, of every county in the district. I mean, as a former county level, I have the phone numbers of the Planning and Zoning Board, and this is work that just having a member of your team who is in those boards and sitting in those meetings is where we really need to go.
Time. All right. From our councilwoman out of Snellville.
Hi, everybody. I'm Kat Hardrick, volunteer with Berean Christian Church. This is my home. Thank you, everyone, for being here today, and thank you, candidates, each and every one of you. I am a veteran. I am a disabled veteran. I don't like the word disabled because there's nothing disabled about any of us veterans who served our country proudly. But the Atlanta VA rating is a 2 out of 5, the Atlanta VA. And it serves hundreds of thousands of us veterans in this community. My question to you is, what is your current plan to address the issue of our VA being subpar? The services that we receive are below expectation. I don't even like going into the room to be seen because the room is so dilapidated. Our medical professionals, they do not receive the pay that they need, so they leave the VA and they go into the private sector. So as a person who is a survivor of military sexual trauma, I have to constantly tell my story over and over and over again. I'm re-traumatized. And my fellow veterans are doing the same. So I ask you, what is your plan? I need to hear a plan to make these changes as soon as you get elected. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you for your question, and I thank you for your service. First and foremost, I tell you, this is near and dear to my heart. My father was a veteran. He actually died with Agent Orange, so I know what you're going through. And a lot of people act like veterans are asking for a handout, and actually it's America's promise to you, right? The first thing we need to do with these hospitals is actually get the funding. Everything for Congress is very simple, getting funding. Right now, we go to the hospitals in DeKalb County, and we looked at their overflow. They noticed an overflow. We need funding where we can actually get more centers there for you. We need to have funding so we can get mobile centers for veterans. I know it's a big problem with dentistry. People are waiting months and months to get dental treatment, and that should not be in one of the richest countries in the world. So what we have to do is get that federal funding, bring money back to our communities to make sure that we can take care of people. Not only that, we have to pay these healthcare workers more. I mean, you know, at the end of the day, we have to make sure that people are paid. We have to make sure that we take care of people, and we have to look at people as individuals and not just another number. I will say over and over again, every life has value, right? And we have to take care of our veterans because there are more than 465,000 veterans in our state of Georgia, many of them homeless and many of them without adequate health care.
All right, anybody else want to jump in before we get to our final question? Go ahead, Representative Card.
Thank you so much for the question because it is very important. Absolutely, we must invest in our VA and we must make sure that the money that does go into the VA is actually working for our veterans. We talked earlier about the big ugly bill, and one of the things that happened in that bill was they cut 25,000 healthcare workers from the VA. That's not the direction we need to go in if we're going to improve the services. So one thing that needs to be done immediately is to reinstate those positions and fill them with quality doctors that can provide the services that are needed for our veterans.
All right, and so now we're gonna get to closing remarks. We can put 2 minutes on the clock before we go down the line and do that. Before we do that, I do want to thank everybody that came out today. Thank you for your questions. Thank you to Mrs. Scott. I'm looking for you in the audience. Okay, there you go. For your beautiful remarks about your late husband. Once again, I want to thank for those of you who are watching. Please hit the like button, subscribe to our YouTube page, donate. Again, with all the funding being cut, it's just not small businesses. All our nonprofits are struggling right now with all of the attacks on DEI that has affected our funding. So please donate, follow us, join, go to www.gwinnettnaacp.org. Again, www.gwinnettnaacp.org. So at this time, starting with Mr. Joe Lester, we're going to give him 2 minutes. Any closing remarks? Now, we'll ask our candidates, please give everyone your website, where to find you, how to look you up, any of your social media. Go right ahead, Mr. Lester.
Good evening. Appreciate the opportunity to come to you all and speak to you. My name is Joe Lester. I grew up on a little farm down in Hawkinsville, Georgia. I'm a graduate of Fort Valley State University, Meharry Medical College School of Dentistry. I've been taking care of folks in this community for over 42 years. Science and data, I know science and data, and I use it every day treating people in my office. Here's the thing, folks. This does not boil down to science and data, what you have in your head. This boils down to what you have in your heart. What in your heart? How are you going to take care of folks? Do you care about folks? All of those things are very, very important, and that's what I bring to this campaign. I bring to the campaign good old-fashioned country, common man who's been in this community all my life. I understand good policies. I went to school on a basic grant. I went to Meharry Medical College on a scholarship for exceptional financial need. I understand bad policies too. I want y'all to give me an opportunity. Give me an opportunity. I might not be the most polished joker you hear tonight, but I'm gonna tell you that I have a whole lot of common sense, and I'm gonna use that common sense to help legislate good policies for you. That's something that we have not had. I'm not gonna come up here with all this cute stuff, all this kind of science, data, what I know. I've made an A on just about every ology out there, okay? But I am not the person that's gonna tell you what degree I have, because basically my heart is about serving this community. I work at the Department of Corrections. I work at the Department of Juvenile Justice. Just helping folks, not for a pat on the back, not for a vote, but helping folks, hear me good, just because some things are just the right thing to do. It is time to start electing some real people to represent you. Elect Joe Lester. Give me an opportunity. Give me an opportunity. I want to work for you. I'll be honored to have your vote next May, 19th?
Yes. All right. Thank you, Joe Lester. Representative Jasmine Clark.
You know, I'm going to stand too. You know, thank you all so much for being here this evening. My name is Dr. Jasmine Clark, and as I mentioned at the top of this, I'm a lifelong Georgian, born and raised. I was born at Crawford Long, not Grady, but Crawford Long, baby. I'm raising my 2 children here. Actually, I have a son who is at Morgan State in Baltimore. My daughter goes to school in this area. I serve this community. I have been serving this community for the last 8 years, and in that service, I have just tried to do everything that I can to make this place a better place and to improve the quality of life for the people in House District 108 who also live in Congressional District 13. You know, in the last couple of candidate forums, I told the story about my dad, and I talked about how investment in scientific research is so important because it gives people more time. Unfortunately, since that last candidate forum, my dad is no longer with us. But I got more time with my dad from when he was diagnosed with prostate cancer than he got with his dad from time of diagnosis because of investment in scientific research. And I think it is important. It is vital because when they cut those funds, that funding comes directly for communities like this one. I want to end by also just saying, when it comes to heart, I have a lot of heart. I do this because I love this community. I'm running a positive campaign focused on the issues, affordability, you know, making sure that we are addressing the issues that are important to the people in this district. I'm not attacking others because I don't think that that's necessary in a Democratic primary, because Democrats are not the enemy to me. MAGA is. You can reach me at jasmine4ga.com. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Representative Clark. Senator Jones.
Let me thank the Gwinnett NAACP for hosting this event, and thank everyone for coming out tonight, by the way. The question that was asked by the veteran in the group, I didn't get a chance to answer, so I'm going to lend some of my time to what I would do with a plan. And the reason why I do this is because 2.5 years ago, I buried my brother, who was at the VA over there on Claremont Road, and he died from being around the burn pits. And this issue is really, really critical for me. But there's really 4 things I would do. 1, we got to recruit the very best. 2, we got to go out and retain those that we recruit over to the VA hospitals. Then we got to train them, and then we got to maintain them. And I said maintain, that means pay them and pay them well. So in terms of a plan, there's different elements of that plan that I'd like to explore. I'll still be around here. If she's still here, please come and see me. But I'm State Senator Emanuel Jones, and I believe that experience matters, and I believe having a proven track record of success matters. If you look at my last 22 years that I've served in the General Assembly, I've done that. I've had an opportunity to work with multiple Republican governors and had been able to pass legislation signed into law by all of those governors. By the way, I had a signing ceremony this day for a bill that we changed down in Henry County. Folks, we're at war. This country is at war. And we got a commander-in-chief that really has no idea of how to conduct war. But I tell you, there's nothing more important than having someone in this seat who can speak to the complexities that we're now experiencing in this world. And if we're not careful, this could easily blow up on us. I am ready from day one. I've been battle tested, and I am ready to commit myself to making sure that District 13 has the very best services and resources this community can have. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Jones. Dr. Heavenly Kimes.
Hello, my name is Dr. Heavenly Kimes, and I stand before the people of Georgia's Congressional District 13, not only as a medical professional for over 2 decades, but as a mother, a wife, and a daughter of a proud veteran, United States veteran. I've spent my life healing people, and now I seek to help heal this nation. At a time when the Supreme Court has weakened protections that once guaranteed minority communities a full voice in our democracy, many are asking whether the districts like 13 will even survive. My answer is very simple. Our power never confined to the lines on a map. Our power lives with the people. If they redraw the maps, then we will redraw the future. This is not a moment for division amongst our brothers and sisters competing for office. Every candidate who steps forward deserves respect. But let nobody misunderstand this moment. The attempts to weaken the Voting Rights Act or silence diverse voices will not break us. They will expand us. We are prepared to compete anywhere against anyone. And with the strength of our ideas, our work ethic, and our faith, we will work hard to make sure that Georgia's 13th district remains alive. While politicians fight yesterday's battles, families are worried about today. Our children are being sent to war, jobs are disappearing from the global competition, and hospitals are stretched beyond capacity. Schools are falling behind the rest of the world, and America cannot lead the future while abandoning its people in the present. I believe in an America that's both progressive and prosperous, in an America where business grows, workers rise, and healthcare is world-class. Education leading the globe and democracy belongs to all of us, not just the powerful few. This is a new day, a new generation, and a new way to lead. My name is Dr. Heavenly Kimes, and I'm running for Congress District 13 to be a voice for the people, a loud voice that people can hear. My website is drheavenlyforgeorgia.com. Thank you.
All right. And Dr. Jeff Fauntleroy.
My name is Dr. Jeff Fauntleroy, Sr. Mrs. Scott, thank you for your comments. And thank you for what Congressman Scott has done in District 13. I'm running because I have a breadth of experience. I was a former Board of Education president. I was a college trustee. I was a high school educator. I was a federal investigator with the Office of Personnel Management. I was also an investigator with the Florida Bar Association, making sure that those lawyers who took an oath of office were doing those things that they said they would do and going after them when they did things that they weren't supposed to do. I've been a community partnership consultant, retired law enforcement, pastor, small business owner. And as a pastor, you talk about dealing with all people. I always believed in the concept of the shepherd should smell like the sheep. And in order to do that, you have to be amongst the people, all people, not the white sheep, not the black sheep, but all sheep. I currently serve on the Gwinnett Police Citizens Advisory Board. I'm a past appointee of the Gwinnett Human Services Board. I believe in servant leadership. As a husband, my wife has been in healthcare as a registered nurse for over 30-some years. As a husband, as a father, as a grandfather. I believe that being in this position or running for this position is not to use it as a stepping stone to run for higher office. I'm invested in the needs of this district, and I am ready to do what the Constitution mandates for Congress members to do, and that is to legislate, and that is to give oversight to the executive branch and represent this district. I am a proven leader. Make sure that you study these candidates up here. Who's behind them, who's pulling the strings, and who's independently candidate. Thank you.
All right, and Everton Blair.
Thank you all for making it to the end. My name is Dr. Everton Blair, but you can still call me EJ. And I'm running because this is my home, and it means so much to me to have good representation in the community that raised me. This campaign has been one of immeasurable sacrifice for all of us. We're all good candidates, and to the point earlier about, coming together, we absolutely will, because our community deserves that. But we also have to be honest that the house is on fire, and things are a lot harder, and we are paying a lot more to get a lot less. And if we don't contend with the pain of this moment and actually elect some fighters who are not bought or who are untethered to the same corporate or special interests or whatever it is, right? Like, corporations are not supporting my campaign. I don't take a dime from a corporate PAC because they're afraid of me. But I'm not afraid of them. And I think that untethering gives me the freedom to just actually talk about what's impacting people in our community, to actually have a plan to address the needs of the folks, the hardworking folks in our community. That's people over profit every time, and it always will be. I have my family in the audience, people that have literally watched me grow up. And when I look at the education system and the opportunities that we all have, and I see them dwindle, that's gonna take a sharp fighter, not just to fight against MAGA, but to build something once we have power again. And that's where I have a great set of assets. When I first got elected to the Gwinnett County School Board, everybody doubted me. I was 26 years old, and I was really, really effective at proving everybody wrong. And I'm excited and ready to do it again. In this district, we have so much potential, and we just need the political power to actually have somebody who's going to be bold and brave enough to deliver. Again, my name is Everton Blair. You can check out my plans on my website. There's a QR code on the back of my walk card, as well as at Everton Blair on all socials and evertonblair.com. And just thank you all again for coming out.
All right. Thank you, candidates, for monitoring time.
I did miss my website, if I may.
Briefly,
You can
3
reach
seconds.
me at drjeff4district13.org. Dr. Jeff, F-O-R, district13.org. Thank you.
All right. All right, I want to definitely thank everyone that came out tonight. I want to thank those who are watching online. I want to thank Pastor Kevin Lee, as well as Berean Christian Church here in Gwinnett, for being such gracious hosts. League of Women Voters, I'm looking for Diane. Okay, there she go in the back. Thank you all, League of Women Voters in Gwinnett, our Gwinnett NAACP Youth Council. Thank you all for this great event. Early voting does end on May 15th, so if you live in Gwinnett County, our polling precincts are open from 7 to 7. So for those of you who live in Clayton and DeKalb and Rockdale and Newton, go to www.mvp.sos.ga.gov. Again, www.mvp.sos.ga.gov. As far as our organization, our next general monthly meeting will take place on Thursday at 7 o'clock, May 14th. So this Thursday will be at the Gwinnett Justice and Administration Building in Conference Room A. So we'll provide some updates on the branch, all our activities, any remaining events. And I just want to remind everyone, because of the amount of candidates that are running this race, and because Georgia has a racist law that requires a candidate to get 50% of the vote plus one, there will be a runoff. So 2 of these candidates will be going into, like I call, overtime to decide who's going to represent this district. And it'll be the top that'll be getting that vote. So yes, we want you to vote in this year's primary, but you will need to come back after the election on Tuesday and prepare for early voting for the runoff. And the same will go for governor. So we're going to have a bunch of key that will be going to runoff. I guess somebody trying to warn me that I need to wrap it up. All right. See y'all. Thank y'all for being in these Gwinnett County streets. Good night.